Welcome back. Today, schools across the country, they took a stand to see that no child had to eat alone at lunchtime. Schools in at least 26 states participated in the National No One Eats Alone Day, and the day was founded under the nonprofit organization Beyond Differences, and it was created following the death of 15-year-old Lily Smith, who passed away due to complications from a rare genetic disorder. Lily, it turned out, often sat alone at lunch, and her parents, they founded Beyond Differences following her death to encourage schools and students across the country to see that no child is left out. And we're very pleased to be joined right now by Nicole Hockley. She's the Communications Director for the Sandy Hook Promise organization, which has selected No One Eats Alone as its Promise Day event for the month. And I want to talk about this organization. We've had other folks from your organization that does unbelievable work here. And obviously it was born out of a tragedy that happened, and you lost your 6-year-old son, Dylan, on that awful day. I'm just always struck. I think a natural inclination, at least for a lot of people, would be to try, even though you can never make the day go away, to shut down in a way. But you guys have chosen to not only talk about that and what we can do to prevent those other tragedies like that from happening again, but also to reach out to other groups and to give awareness that your organization can help provide. How hard is that to do?
It can be very hard to do that, but in all honesty, everyone's path through grief is very different, and some days you do just want to shut down and make sure that everything's, keep the blinds drawn and stay in bed all day. But for me and some of the other people that I work with, doing nothing isn't really an option. We want to make something positive come from this tragedy. We want to protect other children, and we want to ensure that no other family has to go through the feelings that we experience every single day.
I've heard some folks say in connection with this initiative that you guys have helped make your cause this month that you're highlighting about No One Eats Alone, that there's a lot of kids that are probably either marginalized or even ignored. And there's different kinds of isolation where we all know about bullying, but there's also the kids that sit alone and no one will talk to them, and the parents of this young girl, they found out a lot after she passed away from her illness and complications that she was alone far too often at school, and she didn't have friends and everything else. So give an idea of the genesis about how this all came about.
Well, I think we can all relate to some point in middle school, especially, or those early years where we felt alone. I have memories of that, and I see that in some of my friends' children as well. Sometimes you want to be by yourself, and that's perfectly fine if you're focusing on something or if you're trying to prepare for something. But too often there are kids that are completely by themselves in the school cafeteria or by themselves on the playground that aren't chosen for sports, or that sit by themselves on the school bus. And we're trying to say to other kids, it's okay to notice someone by themselves, but why not go out and include them in? Why not ask them if they want to sit with you at lunch or play with you or join your sports team? It doesn't take much, and just that reaching out, that smile and that act of kindness can truly make a difference to someone's life.
I remember when I heard about this story and reading about from Lily's parents talking about it, that they learned and they felt so pained again after not just losing their daughter, but what she endured. And I think for many of us, as I said, bullying, there's been a lot of spotlight on it, and we need to do more as a country for it. But when people are sitting by themselves or alone, in many ways, isolation is its own form of torture here, where it's almost like you're not there.
Yeah, that feeling of being invisible, that can be just as harmful, if not more harmful, than someone who is verbally or physically being picked on. That feeling that no one cares or no one notices you, that can do tremendous damage to your self-esteem and your confidence, and can cause you to further draw away from other people. and that has all sorts of effects as well that we want to get rid of.
Well, you guys have helped bring attention to this, and it's taken off. More than half the states in this country have decided today to put a face on this. Give an idea about what you've seen. I know you've flown in today. You were in Ohio, I believe, earlier today, right?
I've been in Ohio all week, from Cincinnati all the way up to Youngstown and all the cities in between, talking to different elementary and middle schools, sitting down with them at lunchtime, having conversations with the boys and girls, and ensuring that they're all sitting down. Their principals and administrators have been fantastic, and the enthusiasm and the smiles is it's contagious. And I've loved sitting down with them and talking about, okay, well, have you ever met this little girl before? Have you ever met this boy? And what have you found in common with each other?
Do you think instinctively kids want to do the right thing?
I absolutely believe kids instinctively want to do the right thing, but for us as adults, I think it's our job to help role model best behavior and encourage those behaviors. And then that just becomes culture, that just becomes the way a school operates.
In that same story that I learned about, Lily's story and what came out of it, I also heard that those that are isolated, those that are ignored or shunted out, sometimes it's not just the pain that they do, but they'll lash out in many other ways. And I know that you guys have spoken about that, as it's in everyone's self-interest to make sure these marginalized or ignored populations don't stay that way for society as a whole.
Without a doubt. We're not saying that someone who's isolated or bullied is going to end up hurting themselves or hurting someone else, but there is a very small percentage of people that can become violent. And what happened at Sandy Hook, I think, is an example of that. And who knows what might have been different if maybe someone had just spent a little more time with our shooter.
Well, we've talked many times in this program. I think it'll be a national regret we didn't do more in the aftermath, but I'm glad your group and others haven't given up. Not the fight, but at least the conversation as to what we can do to do better. And again here, for all the great promises that Sandy Hook Promises involved in, including No One Eats Alone, I'd love you to check out their website. If you go to sandyhookpromise.org, you can find out more on how you can help and be part of the solution as well. Nicole, thank you so much for a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich.
We'll be back on RFL right after this.